Hey! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the show. I'm your host, Mark Bader. This is The Bader Show. What are we at? Episode 428. Today's November 26th, 2024. And man, really pumped about today's show. It's a big week for Flo. It's a big week for him. Chance Marsteller, welcome to the show. Of course, we just dropped a big film called Chance yesterday about your life, about, your kind of crazy story. I guess let's just start with what's the response been? You and I talked. It's been pretty good here at Flo, but I assume even more response for you because it's directly about you. Just kind of, I don't know, what's the last 24 hours been like?
Yeah, Bader. I mean, first, again, thank you for everything you guys did to put the film together. But the response is it's heavy. It's not light stuff. I think was very vulnerable in the film. Told a lot about a lot of deep stuff, and what that does, it allows other people to be vulnerable, and that was kind of the whole point of it. So it's been kind of a heavy last day or so with the messages I've been getting as far as the stuff that people share with me, and feel the need to share with me or feel okay enough to share with me. So it's been pretty neat. There's a lot of people, who have, either congratulated me or thanked me or, the vague stuff and the nice stuff. But there's been a lot of heavy stuff lately, and that's the part I'm here for. And it's been amazing, the different type of stuff people have been sharing with me, and then the few conversations I've actually gotten to dive into. And just it opens up a whole new world or a whole nother part of my life, to share with people and to get involved in a different way.
Yeah, that's great. You had said this kind of from Jump Street, like, if this helps one person, it was worth it because you went through a lot. And if one person who's kind of going through something similar to what you went through could see this and it can help them, man, it was worth it. And you maybe alluded to this, you got a lot of thanks or congrats or all this, but then maybe some heavier or deeper messages, I'm not asking for names or people, but have people reached out to you and said, hey, I'm struggling or I have struggled. And do you feel like this has helped one person, and maybe expand on that?
Absolutely, I do. I believe it's doing its job of helping more than just one person. And the stuff people have reached out to me about, there's a lot of struggling people out there, and sometimes they don't know who to turn to or what to say or how to say it, or finally just ask for help. And that's a lot of the messages I've been getting, just I'm struggling, right? I think that for most people, I think that's like a lot of the times the first step in the world of AA and NA. It's, accepting that you're an addict or alcoholic is like, it's a really hard thing to do.
Sure.
And that's always the first step, though. Like, you have to accept that it is what it is in order to move forward. And I think just some people reach out to me saying I'm struggling. Like, I think for some of them that might just be the first step, but that's been a lot of the response.
This whole thing came about. It was, I don't know, maybe a couple weeks before 2023 Final X. And I was like, I called you up and I said, hey, Chance, win or lose against Jordan, we kind of want to do this thing. And if I recall, you were just like, yeah, let's do it. And what was there any hesitation or was there reservations in doing it? Or did you know that, like, man, it's time? We didn't know Final X was going to be crazy. It was, but your story's still your story prior to that. I don't know. It seems like you were just like, yeah, sure, I'm on board. And I guess how and when, not just were you on board telling me or us, but I'm down to just tell whoever because this need to share this.
So in a sense, somewhat of a selfish sense, in my own recovery, it was important for me to do this, right? I think being transparent, and I've been the type of person, when I'm transparent and I'm open, it holds me accountable. And it's really hard to be a leader who's not accountable, right? And that's a big part of my sobriety. And I always say it, like with my club athletes, I'll be the first one to step on the battlefield. I'll be the first one to do it. I'll be the first one to go when it comes to asking you to do something that you haven't done before, right? I'll never ask you to do something that I haven't done before or want to do with you in that moment. And so for me, it keeps me transparent, keeps me in recovery, keeps me sober. And, by opening that pathway to talk to more people who are going through it, right? Like that in and of itself is a big piece of recovery. One person talking to another person with the same problem. A lot of times, like that's enough for some people to get by. And so I knew it was time. And the other thing, though, is like I truly believe there's a few things I believe in my life, or have come to believe. The closer I've become with Christ, and the closer I've become with my religion, is that my calling wasn't just wrestling. It was to go through this so that others don't have to. And I really believe that. So I knew it was time, and there's no time like the present to help somebody else out. So was it easy? Like, was there every part of it that I wanted to just openly share and have a good time? No, because none of it's easy. It's not easy stuff. It's not stuff I'm proud of. There's a lot I wasn't proud of in the movie, but it's not the man I am today. And that's the important part, is that there's a lot of people out there that don't believe people can change. There's a stigma that people, once they're in addiction, they can't recover. They don't recover. It's not true. We are and we do. And so it wasn't easy, but it needed to be done.
You said, when people are in addiction, maybe they don't think they can recover or ever will. Like, when you were in the thick of it, and maybe you're not thinking this far ahead, so maybe it's a moot question, but like, was there ever a time where you were like, I don't know if I'll ever make it out of this. I don't think I'll ever make it out of this. Or, in the thick of it, was there ever a glimpse of a light at the end of the tunnel? Maybe one day this will be, or you're just like, it's so chaotic that you don't even, Brian's not thinking that way.
Wow. So sorry to rephrase, re-ask it. You're asking when I was like in the thick of addiction, or right, like as I was getting sober, did I?
Well, in the thick of it, did you think you'd ever be able to get out of it?
No, there's plenty of times I didn't.
Yeah.
I shared that piece where I couldn't look in the mirror because I to me it was up. The game was over. The game of life. I didn't. But you start putting your back against the wall and you have no other options. That's where you truly start to believe you're going to die, or prison, jail time. Like when that's like starts to become the only option you think, you start to realize, no, like there's a way out. Like I don't want to be like that. I think the whole time you tell yourself, or I told myself, I don't want to be like that. I know I don't want to be like this. I've always said I didn't know how to stop. I don't want to be like this. But until my back was finally fully against the wall, there's no other options. Do you want to live, and do you want to live a good life? A life where, people depend on you. And you have friends you can trust and people you can depend on as well. And be accountable and responsible, and just, have the life that, early on you thought maybe you could. You start to get your back against the wall, and you start to go, there's really no options. I think there's something Nick Saban said a while back that I always loved. All these athletes, I tell some athletes a lot, like all these athletes think to be great, or for me to recover, we have these options, we have choices, and that's not true. You don't. Like, there's a way to do things and there's a way not to do things. Sure. A little bit of a different way to get there than others, but that was the thing. It was back was against the wall for a long time. I didn't think I was going to make it out until my back was finally against the wall, and I had to pick. Like, you're gonna live, and if you're gonna live a good life, or you're gonna give up. And that's one thing wrestling taught me at a young age. You don't give up. And the other thing it taught me was work. It taught, I'm I don't think there's many people who will ever outwork me. And even when I was in full blown, addiction, like I still went to the restroom room and worked my butt off,
Yeah.
for wrestling. And, but that was the biggest piece, I think, of getting sober. And one of the pieces I would like to hit on along the lines a little bit that we maybe, might not have been in there a ton for like people out there is like in order to receive the gifts, of sobriety or recovery or Lord, like you have to act, you have to work. And, I don't know many people who, for professionals that drive an hour and 40 minutes to train every day, get home, drive 50 minutes the other direction, run a club, and like just don't stop, show up to everything. And, that was part of the work. And when I was getting sober, I, I really think like there was that piece where I had told you about, I didn't quite make it to the movie, like that. We actually got removed from rehab 21 days in out of the 30 days because it was COVID. It was a weird time. And the nurse practitioner got COVID. So it was a small rehab, 19 people. They had to remove us. And, we're all figuring out what to do at that point. And like the only thing I knew next was if I wanted to stay sober and get clean was I had to work. And what was work at that time? It wasn't wrestling. That wasn't even a thought, right? But I had those tools, that I grew up with. And it was work to, first thing I did was I called a counselor. I called, I got 2 other people that were in the rehab. I said, hey, we're gonna quarantine together and we're gonna stay sober together. And when we get there, when we get to the one guy's house, like we're like gonna go right into like the next step. We're gonna work. When we get back from here, we're gonna work. And that's a really big piece to it that I think people forget, right? Or that some people don't understand that like recovery is not just like this easy gift or something that, you're just going to wake up one day and will yourself to stop. It has to be work that has to be done up here, more than anywhere. But, you start to work on yourself a little bit. You start to work on fixing relationships, mending things and and your habits each day, they start to match the type of life you want to live. So I think that's key. And when I knew that I knew how to work, I knew I could get sober.
Yeah. One thing I know you said is like, at one point you're like, I kind of knew I was in too deep. I wanted to get clean or sober, but I didn't know how to do it or how to ask for help or right. Maybe even before you can get to work, you have to like, what would your advice be to somebody who like maybe knows that they're in too deep, but doesn't know what to do from there?
So that's what I think this movie's about, right? I still didn't know how to ask for help. And that's what I explained. Like my back was put against the wall. I was in trouble again, and I ran out of options. So how do you do it beforehand? I think is hopefully we as a society start to realize that these people like myself can recover, can get better, and share about it more. Let people know there's more resources, more outlets, and that you're not alone. Then it becomes a little bit easier to ask that really hard word, help. Right? Like that's the biggest thing. Like I don't want to ask for help. I was so scared to ask for help. I had to be basically broken down to brass tacks and have nothing left in my life to finally ask for help and go get help.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that some of these people that go through this or going through it, or I hope they're able to ask for help a little bit sooner. I think that's the key to what we're trying to do here. At least I am. Is spread this word, spread this message, and by doing that, right, it breaks down that barrier of it's so hard to ask for help. So that's the biggest thing, like accepting that. Like I think when you ask for help or you go get help, I think that's that acceptance factor, right, that we were just talking about, like accepting we are where we are and I am what I am and I want to change. Not quite sure if that makes sense to some people.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense to me.
You've been through a lot, I'm sure. So as far as like the making of this, right? We visited you twice. The first time was me and another guy. The second time was about five or six of us. What was that like for you, sitting in a chair, lights, camera, action, everything's pointed at you, and I think we were several hours on end, grilling you, if you will, asking, just talking through everything from childhood through, the thick of it. What's that like? Putting your guard down, feeling vulnerable. I know you. I feel like I know you really well now, but at the I've gotten to know you a lot better over the last year, and it's not like we were best friends, and I'm coming here asking you all these intimate questions. And then there's other guys you don't hardly even know. Knowing what this is going to turn into, what was that experience like?
The part that was difficult more than anything, I think, was as we were going through it and being honest. And you start at the beginning, and you really start to break things down. And you sort of kind of remind yourself or figure out, I think a big thing was I said, I don't know how I got here. I'm starting to go, oh, I remember how I got here. Yeah. These are some things some roadblocks. And as we were going through it, one thing all those hours did was it started to take white out off my life. I didn't realize the word trauma, like I hear that word and I kind of shuffle off of it. And when I hear people have trauma or this or that, and I started to really go, man, I don't think I would have been able to get as far as I did if I didn't just take all my trauma in my life and stuff it down, keep stuffing it. So as we're going through it, there's parts that I had forgotten about for a long time because I needed to, I thought, to survive. And that's what I started to realize as we were going through. I'm like, man, I got rid of this stuff. I whited it out to forget about it and to never live it again, to stuff it down. As we're going through it, what it did was it started releasing some stuff inside me. I was upset. I think there's parts when we were going through those hours, I'd tear up and just rethinking, reliving, things that might have happened to me, but also my own mistakes and just thinking about maybe who I was at one point and not enjoying that. So that was the oddest part, was just that whiteout getting taken off the life and going back through parts. And I was, whoa, that was difficult. That was tough. And the only way I dealt with it was to stuff it down and just forget about it and move forward. And so going through all that, it really made me work through even more stuff that I had already worked through. I even thinking about it now, just how much, realizing how much people are able to categorize something to get rid of it, or compartmentalize something. I think that's sometimes we have something in our life that keeps carrying us far enough. Like my wrestling was carrying me, so I was compartmentalizing all these issues into a category that was non-existent. And I used to say it to people like your wrestling gets better, your life gets better when you're able to take care of all of this stuff in an equal balance. And that's what it started reminding me of. Like, man, this stuff was all compartmentalized. Where's the balance? So that was the most interesting part of going through it, I think.
Okay. All right. I want to shift tone a little bit here, and I don't know this word. You're a wrestling junkie as much as any kind of, right? Like you're like a wrestling nut, and you always have been. And you're like, dude, when I kind of talked to you the first time I went to a film, and I was trying to explain it, you're like, I know all the films, dude. I've seen them all. Believe me, nothing comes in wrestling that I don't see. So let's just step back. Like, did you have a favorite FloFilm prior to all this? Anyone that you watched or something that like, oh, I really liked this one.
So I really like I like Terry a lot. That was one of the better ones, one of the best ones. And I like the Colot one for the reason I grew up with Colot. So I think I told you this when we were filming, was you guys did a really good job if you show raw emotions. And these stories aren't fake. Like you guys do a good job. You get up in there, like you were saying, and really dig it out of us. But I remember like Kerry looking at his medals in that shed or wherever he was, and kind of just getting rid of it. And I was like, that's Kerry. That's the guy I grew up with. The way you could see the way he felt towards it. So I really appreciated that one. I also think I'm a little biased. Like I grew up, with Kerry. He was my club coach growing up, so I like that one a lot. But I thought Terry was probably my favorite film. Just because I grew up. I had the CD. I had this USA Wrestling CD when I was a kid. I put it in my Xbox, and it was all the matches of it would be like the Kendall and Terry series was on it.
Yeah.
Who else? Smith and Randy Lewis, Randy Couture, and Faye. Like, there's all these matches, and those are a lot of matches. Like, I grew up on just like my TV was right here, my Xbox below it, and my bed, and I could literally just pop it in, just lay there, and just watch it. I could wake up, watch it. That's how I did stuff. I had my CDs and my Xbox, and so watching those matches as a kid growing up, and then getting all the
context
behind, around it, and then also Kendall being a coach of mine, like that was pretty cool. Yeah.
I mean, my life is a movie, right? Like your life to this point is now a movie. Did you, before we reached out, was there any part, because you went through all the thing, and then I think in 2022 at the World Team Trials, you kind of let the cat out the bag, or kind of admitted to the world whatever was going on. Like, was there any part in your head that was like, these guys could call me one day and this could be a thing? Or would you, knowing that what the films are and what you'd been through, did you ever pair it together before we reached out?
I don't know. I really don't know. I thought maybe, the more I believed in myself, I knew the more I would get out of the wrestling world, and that would help people. I knew that no matter what was going to happen, I was going to eventually share it, because I wasn't going back.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And
so you had in your head, whether or not it was with us or however, you wanted to share it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was, again, the big thing for me. Me being transparent on the other end of it helps my recovery. So, and I feel like I'm the type of person that once I put it out there to be accountable for myself, I'm going to be accountable. So yeah, I wasn't really sure. I mean, I wanted to do the work to have people attracted to it, to get to that point one day. But here we are.
Yeah. There was a line where you're like, can you make it back? I don't know. Nobody's ever told me they did. Like, was there a moment when you thought I'll never make it back? Even maybe once you got, by back, I mean like as successful as we thought you could be, which is where I believe you are today. But, did you ever think like, man, I'm probably not going to wrestle again? Or I'm, maybe I'll get sober, but I'm not going to be on a world team.
Yeah, I think I kept telling myself, I remember, and the people in the rehab probably thought I was an oddball. I mean, I think a lot of people probably do, actually. But that's besides the point. I would wake up every day and I would shake hands in the mirror, and I'd get my hand raised, wrestling all the best wrestlers around the world at that time when I was going into rehab. And then I would get a little time to work out, and I'd always finish with a bouncing, like in place, like a little mosh in place. And I would look in the mirror, and I would shake hands with 5 or 6 of the best wrestlers in the world, and I'd get my hand raised. And that carried me a long way, I think, because I was going to keep doing it until like I finally felt like it was real enough to believe in myself. But I will say, when I first got out of rehab, it's still, I was scared to come back to wrestling. I didn't really come back right away when I got out of rehab. A month went by, kind of didn't get on the mat yet. Then I started trickling back to the mat, kind of in the local area. And I think it was only, like 2 matches back. I wrestled Carter, and he beat me in this Penn State card, their Nittany Lion card they did. And Carter hadn't won a national title yet. I think it was the first year he won a national title. And I kind of knew, I was like, this guy's going to win national titles. But still in my head, I'm like, man, what's wrong with me? Like, I can't beat a college kid right now.
Yeah.
I kind of actually it flatlined me for a second, and then I was like, no, everything's good. Like, this is all part of the progression. And then starting to really pray and believe that, there's a prayer I say a lot that I ask, Lord, take me into the unknown willingly and fearlessly. Because if I just keep doing what I'm supposed to do, if I keep doing the right things, I have to believe that whatever's going to happen to me is supposed to happen to me, right? Like, where we're going to go is where we're supposed to go if I keep doing the right things. And, in those first couple months out of rehab, that's I had to believe that I'm doing the right stuff. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is where I'm supposed to be, and the things will come as they come. I think the other thing that was a little scary is that my first year in sobriety, I still didn't know if I was going to spend, a lot of time in jail. I didn't know if I was going to prison. When I wrestled Olympic trials in 2021, I still had court, a week later, and I really didn't know how I was going to go. And I did. I had to spend time. Luckily enough, it wasn't a ton. It was weekends, but I wrestled. I got the judge to let me wrestle the U.S. Open in Greco in between that time. So there was that over my head that, you talk about making it back. I'm like, even if I do, what if the world stops me? But I just kept telling myself, got to do the right thing. Like, what's next? Do it right to the best of your ability. And that was what was helping me sleep at night.
So, getting clean, right? It happened a couple times, and maybe the first time or two, it was weeks or months on end, and then I think maybe it was after the fiasco in Lehigh. You're like, I got clean for 6 months. That was a long time for me. Like, when you were clean, then did you think, hey, I'm going to be clean for good? And maybe a 2 or 3 part question, and then after the last time, were you ever fearful that am I clean for good, or is it till I fuck up again?
No. So I think, just to clarify, I was only clean one time before I got clean.
Okay.
And that was kind of that forced hand. I got in trouble at Lock Haven, and I just kept saying, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to get clean sober. I didn't think I had a problem still at that point, even all the trouble I was getting in. They told me to go to rehab. I'm like, I don't think I need to. So then I go to rehab.
Yeah.
And they tell me to do aftercare. I'm like, I don't think I need it. And then I do aftercare. And I was doing it for the wrong reason. I was doing it to get out of trouble.
Right.
This last time, the last time I really messed up, and I was, finishing up at Lehigh and stuff. And that was the last time, and I would say, there's a saying, white knuckling. When I was doing that little bit of stint, when I made it a few months, at Lock Haven, and I was trying to get back on the team and stuff, I was, but there were still I still had all the crazy thoughts. I still always thought I was going, just waiting around till I could figure it out again, or just I had no intention, right? Until I figured out how I could get myself in trouble again, get high, get, all my addict behaviors to get those going again. So I knew that last time, when I first got out of college and got in trouble again. It sounds like a revolving thing with me, but that was it. I knew when I decided to accept that I have a problem. Again, I think that's the biggest thing. Accept that I have a problem. I need help. I'm going to go get help, and I'm going to get clean. I'm going to get sober. And that was I knew that this is it. This is the way for me.
And I remember you saying there's a line I distinctly remember. You're like, I knew the second I walked through those doors at the name of the recovery place, I knew I was going to be fine. I felt great. Was it walking through the door? If there is a moment where you're like, I'm going to be good? Was it walking through the doors? You know, because there's some time between the car wrecks and that, you know, where you made this decision. I guess, like, when did you know, like, this is it? I'm done. I'm moving forward.
When I got through the doors to the rehab,
Yeah.
when I got to the doors at rehab, like I knew it was it because everything that had led to that moment. I mean, there were some people that kind of helped me get there, but really there wasn't a whole lot of, you know, adults or family members or people I had been around for a long time, you know, where I got to that point. I remember there was a guy I used every day up until rehab after I got in trouble.
Oh, wow.
Right. And I think that's a common theme with people, you know, like hang on to that last little shred. And until I get real help from someone else, like I still, like I said, I didn't know how to stop.
Yeah.
You know, I knew when I got through those doors, like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like these people are helping me stop and I'm stopping. There's nothing to get. And it's kind of like it's go time. So, geez. So yeah, going through that rehab, I got that moment, but there was some work that led up to it. We talked about the work. I remember, you know, I'm sick at this time, right? I'm in full blown addiction. I'm sick in my head and my heart. And but I remember being on the phone with a guy saying, you know, and you could just tell he was keeping me on the phone for just 1 second longer just to finish getting a little more information, a little more insurance stuff, this, that, and the other. And I'd be like, I got something to do. I gotta go do this or that. I didn't have anything to do. I had to go get high. But then I would call him back the next day and I'd start finishing up some more information. And I'd finish up a little more information and he would suck just a little more information out of me just long enough, you know, that I felt the need to call him again. And finally, about 3-4 phone calls, like I knew, like I have a date, I have a bed at this rehab in Pasadena, Maryland, and I'm gonna be going. And like those were the kind of moments I think that led up to me starting to know, like I'm gonna get there. I'm once I get there, and then that's when I knew walking through those doors, that, like the gig's up. Like I have no other options. I'm here now, and I don't want to turn back at this point. Right? There's gonna be some stuff we have to go through. It's not gonna be fun, but I'm here now, and there's people that want to help me.
That's great. You know, I'm curious. You know, I would you know, call this movie PG-13 or high school and above. Maybe it's appropriate to watch. Like, I've never really asked you this, and you know, your son turned 7 today, so I don't know that he knows kind of the deal about the past. But eventually they're going to be adults, and sometime between now and then, they'll probably watch this film or hear about. I mean, I would assume you're gonna. How do you? I don't know. Have you thought about how to handle this with your children?
That's one thing I'm still very worried about. You know, I do think that they're not ready.
Right.
They're young, man. They're real young. And I would say it's at least, you know, a PG-13 movie. There's not stuff that I really like. You know, I was thinking about it last night. I was kind of helping out the elementary program that I started for Stellar Train. I don't really run it. I just take my kids to it and have my buddies run it. And I was thinking about, you know, how some of these kids might look up to me. And I'm like, man, what if their parents let them see the movie and they're only like 7 or 8? I really hope they don't yet.
Yeah.
Kind of scary, right? Like I just don't want their perception to change. They're a little young to understand. But when you sent me the trailer for the movie, the first time my wife and I got to see it, and the kids heard it from another room, they could hear the background. They lost their minds. Like they heard Dad went to jail. And they're like, Dad went to jail. I'm like, Dad, like what? And they weren't happy. Like they were upset. And kids are smart. And they ask some deep questions. You know, I think the time will come when I definitely want them to know, because I do think there's also some hereditary stuff with addiction and alcoholism and you know, or just the way you think. Like you're half me, half your mother. Like there's going to be thoughts you have, you know, that I hope you don't have, but I'm going to try to steer you from it. But you know, they said, they're like, Dad, you went to jail. First thing they said was, I'm not happy with you, basically.
The kids?
We're going to tell our friends. telling our teacher. I was like, don't do that. Please don't do that. So that was tough. That was a tough moment. And we had to, swerve around it a little bit.
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
but they asked some tough questions, and it made me, again, no matter how far away you get from your past or how far in recovery you get, there's something that always brings you back and keeps it fresh for you and reminds you to keep working. And the thing that they reminded me to keep working was they started asking Jen, my wife, they started asking her, Mom, were you with Dad when it happened? Were we alive? They were asking those kind of questions. And that's when I got like upset with myself, like really upset. It wasn't so funny anymore. So I'm like, they're 7. They just turned 7. You can't just turn 7 today, and Easton will be 6 in February. And these are the kind of questions they're asking. And as young as they are, like that's the kind of effect. Like I don't know. And maybe others, right? And we don't know what our actions do to others. And so that was tough, right? And there will definitely be a day. I don't know when the day will be. I'm sure the day will come about on its own. When they watch it, they find out more. Their friends will say something, and it'll come about when it comes about. But it's not easy. I've said a lot of times I want to be the guy that they can look up to and admire and steer them off that path and not let them go through the things I went through and still try to find a way to be successful in life. So yeah, that was hard that day.
Yeah, I can only imagine. All right, let's talk about like opportunities that doors maybe that are opening for you. This comes out, and we've tried to fan the flames as much as we can and make this as big a deal as we can and get as many people to watch this. Tony Hoffman, right, gave a TED Talk and had a profound impact on you, him sharing his story, which is somewhat similar to yours. And you hoping this will help others. And Tony's done a lot of public speaking. Now I think you have a public speaking engagement lined up and hopefully, that door floods in with more. But tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think one of the things I saw in Tony when I saw his story was and we talk about it in the movie was I related finally to somebody, but also there was all the stuff he did after that I admired, right? That it shows you how much you can grow in this recovery thing and how much you can help others. And so one thing I wanted more than anything besides helping someone is when you just as a pedestal, hopefully get into some public speaking and get better at my speaking and start working with more people. And that's starting to come about. I had a school that's pretty heavy on wrestling already reach out and ask me to come in and talk to the whole school. That's hopefully it's finalizing the date and getting it lined up for next month. That'll be pretty neat. And I'm really excited about it. And hopefully it's just the start of doing that. But just like anything, I want to, not that I want the best story or anything like that, but I want to be the best in this field as well. I want to help people in this field just as, give my all.
That's the wrestler in you. I want to be the best public speaker. I want to have the most impact. I want to,
Yeah, I guess maybe those are some traits I should pull back on saying a little bit, but it's a little ingrained in me with the sport.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. If somebody's watching this and they're like, oh, that's a great idea. I want to get a hold of Chance. How could what's the best way for somebody to get a hold of you or a school or an organization that says, man, we want to invite him to speak at whatever event?
Yeah, if you don't have my number, my email, usually people get a hold of me through Instagram or Facebook, just Chance on Marsteller. I will be putting my email on my Instagram as we talked about Vader because I probably should have done that a while ago.
Yeah.
But usually Facebook or Instagram or if you know somebody has my number. But and I respond to emails as well. It's chance.marsteller@gmail.com without an E on Chance.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Chank.Marsteller. I would assume the correct spelling was taken or not available.
Yeah, I don't know. I got a new phone one day in college, and it made it like I opened it up, it made a Gmail and all that stuff for me, and it decided to go with chanc.marsteller@gmail.com. So, but yeah, that's my email. If anyone wants to get in touch with me, I'll get it posted up on my Instagram as well for you guys. But yeah, that's always a funny line when I have to text you that. Like, there's no ego chance.
Yeah.
That's what we're going with.
Hey, I think you misspelled
I
this.
think you spelled the FloFilm wrong too. It was
What's
supposed
that?
to be CHANC for the FloFilm, but you added an E.
You're a funny guy, Chank. I'm just going to start calling you Chank.
That's okay. I'm good.
No. Chandler?
I would think I'm in trouble again.
What? Yeah, I know a Chandler.
Yeah.
That was Jenna. I don't know what's Jenna's response to this or thoughts, or she kind of not stole the show, but it was like, wow, this, she was very prominently featured and had a big impact on the film.
She's a very special person, probably has the biggest heart of anyone I've ever met. That's one thing that attracts me to her. But with the whole thing, I think she's happy with where it's at. For us as a family, it was tough to go through the whole process, right? And it's tough for her to share it too. Because like I said, as people, I think we like to kind of forget about it and keep going forward instead of working on things, working through things. And we had worked through a bunch, obviously we wouldn't be where we are. But then when you dig it all back up and the world has to see it, it's tough on the family. But I think my wife is just as involved with it as I am, that hopefully it helps somebody. There's wives out there or husbands out there, that have their significant other going through something, or their children going through something. And that's the role I think she plays just as much. Like, how do you help somebody? And you're the person that wants to give the help, right? And she obviously displays that. But I think right now for us, we're 13 days from the baby coming. I think she's really happy the film's out. So for us, again, we can start to move forward.
Yeah.
There's nerves. It's like going out and competing on a mat. No matter how much you know your story or know how skilled you are, like, you're still nervous. Other people, there's one thing I try not to let happen, but other people judge you, and you don't know how it's going to go, right? So I think we're glad to be past that point now. People are starting to see it. Hopefully have somewhat of an understanding. Hopefully we're helping somebody, and we can get back to living our lives a little bit and helping, each other, and preparing for baby number 3 to come, and just have a little us time.
Yeah. A lot of people have said this, and I do think it is probably, not even probably, it's the best thing. It's the best film we've ever made. And even when we first brought it up, say, hey, Chance, we want to do this thing. Are you in? You cool? Yeah, let's do it. I don't think it was until we got into the process of doing it and we were like filming all these extra things and like just really trying to elevate it. Like, did you think it would come out the way it did?
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I usually always try to downplay myself or downplay things that I'm involved in, so I don't let myself down. It's a trait I'm not proud of, but so I wasn't sure. And then you guys kept hyping it up, and when I saw it, I was proud of the final outcome, man. Like, I think you guys did an excellent job. Like, I haven't heard anything but positive feedback, and yeah, I didn't know it was going to come out the way it did. It came out awesome.
Yeah. And I appreciate you because, I think we just were like pushing as much as we could, and anything we could think of to come up with on the spot, we're like, let's do this, and let's do this, and let's, I know we kind of had sort of like wrapped, or what it seemed like wrapped shooting, and then we're like, hey, come drive your car for the next 2 hours, and we're going to film this and film that, and everything we kept thinking of and trying to do, you were like super game. So it takes somebody who's willing to just do whatever, and you're awesome to work with for sure.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. I mean, yeah, no, those moments weren't easy. Redoing the car scenes again and again and again.
Yeah.
And me coming home that night, like, well, I just got pulled over 75,000 times tonight. That wasn't fun because again, like you're reliving it, and
Yeah.
we relived some stuff like physically, throughout the filming. But I think the thing that I saw with you, with Flo and you, Bader, and the crew was that you guys cared enough that it came out the right way. That you guys saw the importance of not me, but the story for other people, and again, that's what it's for. So uh, that probably was the best part about filming with you guys is I felt like we got close on like an understanding of something other than ourselves.
Yeah. For sure, man. And so, yeah, just quick update. You mentioned it, but 13 days. You got 2 boys. We're going the other direction now. Is the Marsteller
Yeah,
house
baby
ready
girl.
for a baby girl?
Yeah. If you guys know Jen, she prepares to prepare. Uh, that's why she's such an important part of the team, right?
Yeah.
For my wrestling, she's always preparing me to prepare.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the kids or a new baby girl, she is on top of it. She crushes it. So yeah, everything's as ready as you can be. But I think anybody with kids can tell you like you're not ready. So I don't. I'm nervous as usual. I'm scared,
Sure.
but we'll wing it and hopefully everything goes well.
You guys are gonna crush it. You have a amazing family, wife, little boys, so I'm sure they'll. Well, I'm sure they'll be probably a little jealous, giving up some attention, but they'll come through. They'll persevere.
Absolutely.
Cool. Really, just any other thoughts on this whole process? Putting your whole self out there, or seeing how it came out and the impact it's having. I'll just kind of let you give you the floor here to kind of what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I talk a lot about like the few missing on this show about a few of the missing pieces a little bit that I wanted to talk about. I'm just happy to get back to some wrestling, man. Get back to some wrestling, get back to some family. Uh, Focus on us a little bit. Get back to the wrestling world and and just seeing what comes next, man. Going to the unknown willingly and fearlessly. Uh, Hopefully, there's some speaking stuff and learning a new skill and getting better at that, and digging in for the next 4 years on this last Olympic cycle and growing my club and just continuing to do all the stuff that we've built and enjoying it as we do it.
Well, I'll say this on the speaking part. I think last time I saw you just a week or two ago in Pennsylvania, like I said, like too much. I don't know if I heard you say like at all today. So yeah, you're already making improvements on what you're trying to work at.
Well, I appreciate that. I've been thinking about it.
You're doing great. Last thing, wrestling. You've been 79 Olympic trials. Clearly, you went 86. Is there, are you going to bounce back and forth? Are you going to stick around 79 until the Olympic year? Or do you want to jump up soon?
We'll really see. I mean, I'm gonna go. I'm kind of wrestle this first quarter at 86, like I did most of last year before I went back down for trials. I think it's just a better way for me to go. I cut quite a bit to make 79, so it's just a better way for me to go as far as getting better training and getting better at my skills over these next 4 years. I am, Burroughs is like the founding youth, man, and Dig and Taylor and all those guys. I don't know how they do it, and I want to get to that point as well. Be able to continue on as I get older, because I know how I feel right now at 29. So I want to feel good. I want to train. I want to hone in on my skills, and I want to enjoy these last 4 years and compete a lot and not cut. And then if I have to or want to, I will. I don't. But I'm gonna get better.
Awesome. Well, Chance, man, appreciate you coming on today. But more than that, appreciate you being vulnerable, opening up, sharing your story with the world, and one day in, already making a big impact. And it's gonna go on forever. So as long as you live, people are gonna be watching this and being their lives will be changed and touched and inspired.
Awesome. Thank you for everything, Bader and the crew. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet, man. Have a great day, Chance, and we'll see you soon.
You too, boss.
All right, thanks. All right, folks, that's going to do it. Chance Marsteller, stellar guy. Appreciate him coming by and telling his story, sharing his story. Hope you check out the film Chance. It's live for free on FloWrestling. We'll see you later. Thanks.